Hello, this is Brett from SurvivalComms. Today we're going to test shielding effectiveness of some common varieties of RF coaxial cable. Now this started when I wanted to see if quad shield RG6 was more effective shielding wise than standard RG6, and if so, by how much. Now this is something that required me to build a test fixture, as the commercial ones are quite expensive. Now this being the case, when we look at the data, it is useful for comparison purposes rather than giving us specification level measurements. Now let's begin. So what is our shield? In RF coax cable, it is our return. It works in concert with our center conductor and creates an unbalanced feed line. It is considered unbalanced because the shield typically has a relationship with ground. Now in our discussion today, we are interested in how well the shield performs its function as a skin. And like your skin, it keeps the good things in and the bad things out, but in an electromagnetic sense. The most basic kind of shield is as seen here, a single copper braid on this RG8 and this RG58 cable. In other common cables, a foil shield is added that adheres to the dielectric, as seen here in this piece of Belden 9913, and this is common in the LMR series of cables as well. Other common cables, such as RG223 and RG142, feature two braids. Helix cables have a corrugated copper shield for flexibility, and smaller semi-flexible cables have a continuous solid soft copper shield like this RG402. Let me give you a demonstration of what I mean about keeping the bad things out, and this also plays a role in reverse where we want to keep our signal within the confines of the cable. We have a section of RG142 here, and it's terminated at both ends with loads. There's no RF traveling through it at all. And when we pass this cable through my RF current clamp here, you can see all the noise that we're picking up. And these signals here, this right here, almost exclusively are FM broadcast signals that are being picked up by this short section of RG142. How are we going to accomplish this without a triaxial fixture? We're going to discuss a couple different ways, and again we're going to compare subject cables and not perform precise measurements. For each of these, you're going to need some standard equipment, the first of which is going to be a signal generator. Your tiny SA is going to work just fine for that. The next is a termination like this 50 ohm load. Next, you're going to need your subject cable. I prefer cables to be less than 2 feet in length, and when you're comparing two cables with one another, it helps if they're both the same length or as close as possible to doing so. You're also going to need a short section of high quality cable to connect some of your equipment together to keep noise out of your test. And next, you're going to need some way to measure your work, and I'm going to use my benchtop spectrum analyzer, but if you had to, I suppose a second tiny SA would work. However, it's probably going to be frustrating. So let's discuss option one, which is going to be the more expensive option because it requires an RF current probe. So we're taking our signal generator and we are injecting a signal into our device under test, or our cable, terminating that cable with a load, and then we're using the short section of cable to connect our RF current probe to our spectrum analyzer. Example 2, I'm going to call it an outside test because instead of exciting our cable under test with the signal generator from the inside, we're basically taking our test jig and exciting it with RF, and then we're taking our cable under test, terminating it at one end and connecting it to our spectrum analyzer. The cable test jig is nothing fancy. All it is you're basically building a helical antenna and you shove your cable under test inside of it. Your signal generator is exciting the outside of the cable RF, and then you measure the result on your spectrum analyzer. Nothing to it. And this is the most cost-effective option because you don't have to purchase that RF current probe. Let's configure our spectrum analyzer for configuration 1. Power up your instrument. Hook up your probe. Of course, you want to let your instrument warm up for at least 15 minutes before performing any kind of tests. Go ahead and select your frequency. So let's say we're going to sweep 200 megahertz. We'll start at 180 and we'll stop at 220. Now we're going to go ahead and set our marker. Marker 1 is normal, and it should be in the middle. Perfect. We don't have to mess with that now. Now go to your amplitude control here. We're going to want to take your attenuator and you're going to want to turn it all the way down and off. Go down. Turn on your preamplifier now, and we're good there. Now go to your bandwidth and set your resolution bandwidth down to 3 kilohertz. And you can see how slow that's going to sweep right there. All right, our instrument is configured. Okay, let's go ahead and test a cable. We've got this section of RG402 here, a 50 ohm load, and now you see the big weakness with this kind of test, and that is, look at the noise here. And we have a nasty spike here at 200 megahertz, so we need to adjust, and that's the reason why we set the frequency difference. So let's go ahead and move this to 205 megahertz. And we note our noise floor there. I mean, it's going to average back and forth, but we have some kind of an idea. We've adjusted our signal generator to 205 megahertz. Now we go ahead and connect it, making sure all of our connections are tight. And once we get our sweep over here, bam, now you can see marker 1 has moved up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go from clear right to power average. It's going to sweep 10 times and then average, and then we're going to freeze our display and mark our marker. Once it gets to 10, hit your freeze, and what you can do is record your result, minus 113.65 decibel milliwatts. Okay, we're set up in configuration number 2. We've got our same exact cable shoved inside of our cable test jig that I built, and I've got it connected to my spectrum analyzer with some RG142, and you'll see the RG142 is fantastic cable for this kind of work, and all of my equipment is cabled with RG142. It's a silver dual shield cable. Anyway, the first thing you're going to see is just how clean our trace is right now. Whereas before, when that clamp was on there, all it did was pick up all the noise. The reason why it's doing that is this is tied to the center conductor of our cable under test. And in doing so, the cable is shielded and doing what it's doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump a bunch of RF onto the outside of the cable, and then we'll take our measurement on the center conductor. It's kind of like the same, but in reverse. So let's go ahead and plug in our signal generator and turn it on. You can see it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set it for a power average again and let it run. And now we record our measurement. 117.77 decibel milliwatts. Now what you just saw with the RG402 was a very good cable. That's that one that has a continuous soft copper shield, so it did exactly what it's supposed to do. It's basically right along the noise floor. So let's go ahead and test some RG58, and you can see the difference. So our signal generator is turned on now, and as we pop that in and we make our sweep, plop, you see it pop up there. So let's go ahead and do a power average on that, and now we have our measurement, minus 101.72 decibel milliwatts. Let's compare that to our clamp style, which we've got hooked up right now, and you can see it's a lot quieter now. And the reason why it's a lot quieter on here is because the shield is so much more efficient. It acts as an efficient antenna than this RG58 cable does that we're going to test right now. So let's go ahead and hook up our signal generator, and let's go ahead and generate a signal and see what we get. Boing. All right, so minus 98.97. So you can see our results are very similar in both configurations. So now that you should have a basic understanding of the methodology, I'm going to go over the results with you of common RF coax cable. Here are the results of my testing of common coax cables in regards to their shielding capability using configuration 2. Again, this is useful for comparison purposes rather than specification level values. It would appear to answer my question in that Quad Shield RG6 does provide greater shielding than RG6 by a significant amount. But I don't expect you to take my word for it. Rather, I hope this fosters your own desire for the truth and gives you the motivation to do your own research. Because with that desire and motivation, you enhance the radio art, and that transcends marketing and benefits you and I. I hope this helps. This is Brett from SurvivalComms. Until next time.